Welcome to Absolute Trust Talk with your host, Kirsten Howe. Absolute Trust Talk brings you tips, tools, advice, and interviews to help you build a reliable knowledge base on estate planning, business, and finance to start preparing for your future today.
Hello and welcome to Absolute Trust Talk. This is our video podcast here at Absolute Trust Counsel, and I'm Kirsten Howe. I'm the founder and the managing attorney at Absolute Trust Counsel. Today, you are in luck. We're going to be talking about insurance, which I know is not everybody's most exciting favorite topic, but it's very, very important. A lot of my clients are, like me, are business owners, and I wanted to do an episode or two or three about insurance that business owners should be thinking about having or maybe absolutely need to have, because I think a lot of people don't give it a lot of thought. They just buy whatever somebody tells them they need to have, and they don't really look at all the things they should have, and they don't even look at what they buy and understand it and understand what their options are and what they might be leaving on the table. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about insurance for business owners, not the kind of insurance that's been in the news a lot lately, the property casualty coverage that we're having a lot of trouble with in California because of all the natural disasters or maybe unnatural disasters, wildfires. That frustrating topic is not on our agenda. We are here to talk business insurance, and here to break it down is my guest, Dean Myers. Dean is the owner of Core Insurance Agency, which is an independently owned commercial insurance brokerage firm specializing in errors and omission insurance for lawyers, accountants, doctors, professional trustees. That's their specialty, but they also place lines of coverage for these groups in all areas. They cover workers' comp, just general liability, property, employment practices, and something that we're definitely going to talk about, cyber liability. Core was founded in 2011, and they're here in Walnut Creek. Dean, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, Kirsten. Thanks so much for having me.
You are most welcome. You know, I've been doing this podcast for a lot of years, and this is the first time I've had anyone talk on this topic, surprisingly. I think it's very, very important. And in order to cover the things that I think people need to learn about, we're going to do this in a few episodes. I want to break it down so their episodes are short and full of content. And so anyway, our first episode, we're going to talk about the kind of the basic insurance is how I look at it. The like fundamental, every business owner needs to get this insurance before you even open the doors. So what, Dean, would you say? What is the basic type? What are the basic types of coverage that a business owner should be looking at?
Yeah, the basic, you have to first start with workers' comp. In California and in many states, but particularly in California, this is compulsory coverage. You have to have it, even if you have one part-time employee. You got to have it. That's where you'd start with. And it's a competitive marketplace, so you shouldn't have any, depending upon the risk profile, you shouldn't have any trouble getting workers' comp coverage. There are a number of carriers, and it's a very competitive marketplace. From there, you'd go to general liability. So you want to cover your third-party exposure, your third-party liability. If you're making ice cream sandwiches, and there's a contaminated product, then some child, hope it's not a child, but a consumer of the ice cream sandwich gets sick because of your product. That'd be third-party coverage and products coverage. It also covers if I come to your office, Kirsten, on a trip and fall, and you'd have premises coverage under general liability. So I'm not an employee of yours. I'm a vendor. Right. I'm third-party.
Right.
So you need general liability. That'd be the next go-to. And then from there, you'd need property insurance, cover your inventory, your equipment, your desk, your chairs, your computers from theft, fire, water damage.
Okay.
If you own the commercial building that you're housed in, you need that as well. So those are the three towers of coverage that you're going to need to start off with.
Okay. Well, let's focus in on each one of those a little bit. You started with workers' comp. So obviously, if you're solo and you don't have any employees, you're not worried about that yet. It's when you get that first employee that you actually are legally required to have it. It's not optional.
Correct. Yeah. And it's no fault. All the carriers, it's the same coverage from carrier to carrier. The pricing will be different from carrier to carrier, but the coverage will be the exact same since it's compulsory coverage.
Because it's specified by state law what you have to have, and they all cover the same exact stuff.
Exactly. They'll cover funeral expenses. I mean, not to get too deep,
right.
Dark. They'll cover long-term disability, it's very vast and broad coverage. It's fraught with a little bit of fraud, and we can touch on that in a little bit. But for the most part, these carriers do a phenomenal job of making sure what they want to do is get your worker back to work.
Sure.
They don't want to turn it into a long-term care situation.
Right.
Some injuries get into that. In construction workers, falling off a bridge or something, you're permanent. You can't go back to work.
Right.
But you can be rehabbed into potentially finding employment in another industry or line of work. So,
or a different job within the same company. But
correct. Great point. Yeah. Well, you're speaking my language. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, and I do know that it's not just about, oh, I was injured, give me some money. It is really about getting that employee what they need. And whether that's physical therapy, or one of my sons had what do you call that? A repetitive use injury?
Oh, yeah, carpal tunnel or something.
Which was his was technically tennis elbow.
Okay.
But anyway, it not from playing tennis, from actually sitting at his desk and working too much. And he got all kinds of stuff. He got an ergonomic specialist to come out and do all the things. He got physical therapy. He got acupuncture, all the things. And he's gradually getting better, if anybody cares. But anyway, it's amazing what that covers. But it's understandable when you get what the purpose of it is.
No, and that's the whole point. They have access to all kinds of facilities and trainers. The other aspect of workers' comp is that they're not going to cover your whole salary. It's only going to be 2/3 because they want to give you incentive to get that employee back to work.
Right. Which is what you would get if you went on state disability.
Exactly.
You're not going to get your full salary. You get like 2/3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the other thing about workers' comp, from the business owner's perspective, what a great solution for us. You're paying a premium and your employee cannot sue you.
That's exactly right. There are
there's exceptions.
Well, in everything in life, particularly in insurance, I know in legal too, there are third-party over claims where if, say, your employee gets injured, but because of the actions of another company or business,
right,
then your employee could go after that business, and that's where the employer's liability comes in. They're rare claims, and they're really hard to be successful in. Those are my worst claims, though. My nastiest, most expensive claims. I do claims reviews as part of what we do because we want those claims closed. The short story for one of those claims closed is the longer the carrier has that claim file open, say on your son, for example, the more expensive it becomes, and then that will drive your premium up.
Right.
So we want to get those claims resolved, files closed, and moved on. But so third-party claims can last for years.
Yeah,
they're rare.
That's like regular litigation, which now you're in the court, and that's going to be a few years. Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas
exactly right.
with workers' comp, as you said, it's no fault. It doesn't matter what happened. I was on the job and I got injured. Right. Now I get coverage. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And for the most part, it's a pretty seamless process, depending upon the extent of the injury.
Of course. Yeah. And you mentioned, if it goes on for too long, possibly your premiums can go up. So I'm guessing the premiums are different depending on what your business is. Like my workers' comp premium is probably pretty low relative to a trucking company's workers' comp. My employees sit at a desk. They're not lifting stuff. They're not driving forklifts and dangerous things.
Yeah. So depending upon your risk profile. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're insuring employees that are operating heavy machinery, but that's a rating issue, and you're going to be paying more for that because of the risk profile.
Right.
Hopefully you won't have to invest too much in risk management. Hopefully you don't have any cords in your office that people can trip over. And we hope that the manufacturing plant takes, and they should be, it'll drive your premium down substantially if you just put in the effort, employee training, documentation, and allowing the insurance companies to come in and perform their own risk management, what we call engineering. Engineer this production plant, engineer this roasting plant. It's free, and most businesses don't resist it. But it will save you a ton of money. And you have, I don't know how far you want to get into this, but experience modifications. So your experience mod, yours is going to be pretty low to begin with. As you said, you're at the bottom of the rating structure.
Ratings.
But, but experience modifications are an individual rating mechanism. So if you have claims your experience mod's going to go up, and that's going to drive your premium up. And if you don't have claims, your experience mod will be,
I see what you're saying.
it's a credit. It's a premium credit. So there are a lot of incentives.
Got it. So like if you go for 5 years and no one's ever made a claim, you might get a little discount.
Exactly. Yeah. It depends on, like, if you don't have claims, but all of your other law firms are having claims, for example.
It's relative. Okay.
Then it's relative to that as well.
Got it.
So if no one's having claims in your industry, then you're probably only going to get a tiny credit.
Right.
But if you're the shining star and all the other law firms are having claims, then you're going to get a substantial credit because you're going to be more desirable.
Okay. And so then you talked about general liability, which I guess there's probably not a legal requirement that you have it, but why wouldn't you?
Well, right. Why wouldn't you? And there might be contractual requirements for you to have.
You're like your landlord.
Your landlord, if you're a contractor, I had this happen last night where if it's a city, you're redoing bathrooms at a venue, they're going to have contractual requirements. Now, general liability is super broad. It doesn't cover everything, though. Like, it wouldn't cover, for example, the product recall that I mentioned earlier about the ice cream sandwich manufacturer. You can add on coverages, though, but the base coverages is premises operations. So it covers bodily injury, property damage. That's the whole basis. It covers personal injury and advertising injury as well. But the twin pillar there is bodily injury, property damage. So you have premises operations, and then you have products completed operations.
Okay.
So it is, depending upon your business, if you're a manufacturer or if you're a law firm, you obviously don't have products, but you have a premises exposure. Under general liability, you can get some contractual liability. If you're a contractor, it doesn't cover if you don't show up to do the job, but if you do the job and you cause damage to a third party, let's say you're building a retaining wall, and the retaining wall collapses into your neighbor's pool. Well, that neighbor's not in contract with the contractor,
right.
That other homeowner, the client is. And so then we'd be paying that homeowner, who we don't know, X amount based on the completed operation or lack thereof.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's certain industries, it would be crazy to go in business without it.
In good conscience, you can't do it without it. So that would cover damage or theft of my own equipment, inventory. Is that general liability?
It wouldn't cover anything of your own possession.
Got it. Okay.
It would cover damages that are inflicted or experienced by third parties.
Okay. So that's liability to outsiders. That protects the business owner from that.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. And again, if you're designing baby seats, we had a claim, this is a while ago, if the baby seatbelt came across the baby's neck, if the baby wasn't strapped in properly and it would choke the baby, well, that's a product's exposure.
Right.
If there's damage to the product, it wouldn't cover that.
Right.
If it's a faulty design, there's other coverage for that. But the resulting damage is where we come in for the general liability.
As a result of the product that you created. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So that's general liability insurance. And we covered workers' comp. And what was the third one?
Well, property.
Okay. And that's what I was getting at. Like,
yeah.
Covers my, if a meteor hits my office and destroys all my computers.
Well, a meteor, that's a good one. But yes, if the resulting damage, the following damage to your building, your equipment, yes, it would cover that.
Okay. Would a meteor not, is there some carve out for?
There might be a meteor. Well, if you live near an airport and a plane crashes into you, that would probably be the equivalent.
That could happen. Yeah.
So property coverage is first party. It covers
that's for the business.
Exactly. Your inventory. And within property coverage, you have inland marine. So if you're transporting your own goods on your vehicles, not through UPS or FedEx, but if you're hauling them in transit, so they're not at your facility, then there would be coverage just while they're in transit. Property coverage would include business interruption, which is so vital. If that meteor or airplane or something, a covered claim, has to be a covered claim.
Sure.
It shuts down your business for, say, 6 months. Well, then you're out of revenue for 6 months. Carrier's going to come in and say, okay, we're going to make up for that lost revenue. Also, if your business is damaged, you're going to need a temporary facility to continue operations.
Right.
So then we'll have the extra expense component. So there's business interruption, extra expense. Make sure you have those in tandem so you can continue operations and pay your employees and generate revenue. And then when your facility is
move back in to the original office.
Yeah.
Okay.
And these insurance companies, they know exactly what they're doing. They know the square footage in Richmond's can be different than the square footage in San Francisco. So they're very adaptable that way. They'll, not to get too much on my high horse, but they really can be a very valuable partner for any business, particularly one with a manufacturing component.
Okay. Because they have so much more potential exposure?
Well, it's more difficult. Like, say, if you couldn't come to your office, I assume it would be much easier for you to take your laptop and
just work remotely. Yeah.
Work remotely.
Right.
Well, if you've got a manufacturing plant, if you're roasting coffee beans,
right.
Well, you've got to find a roaster, and you've got to find a facility that's suitable for roasting and the exhaust and the fumes that are going to be generated. And I mean, it's kind of a dangerous endeavor because you're dealing with heat and instantaneous combustion. So it's not going to be easy to find that facility. You can't just work from home. Yeah, your neighbors aren't going to be too happy when you're doing it out of your garage. Yeah. So that's where the carriers will come in. They know what they're doing. They've been down this road many times. Most of my clients have never experienced a claim, or if they have, it's only been one claim. So they really don't know what the
you don't know.
is.
Yeah.
Rely on the experts. Insurance companies want to do a good job for their clients. Right. They really do. Right. As do many of the brokers. And there are a lot of good ones in California, by the way.
I'm sure that's true. And I think we're talking to one right now.
I certainly hope so. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Dean, thank you so much for all this wonderful information. As I said a little earlier in the episode, I think we're going to do this in multiple episodes. So you'll want to stay tuned because the best is yet to come. We're going to talk about some really interesting insurance companies and our insurance types of coverage in our next couple episodes. Dean, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. We hope that you'll check out our next couple of episodes. We'll have Dean back. We're going to cover E&O insurance, which is my favorite and least favorite, and cyber insurance, which I think is just fascinating. Thank you all for watching and listening, and we look forward to connecting with you next time.
Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Absolute Trust Talk Live. If you enjoyed listening in, then don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you may listen by searching Absolute Trust Talk. While you're there, we would also love for you to leave us a review. And then why not share your favorite episodes with family, friends, or colleagues too? You can find all of our shows and corresponding show notes by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com. You'll also find a variety of other free resources, including our ebooks, videos, blogs, presentations, and more. If you need help with your estate planning or administration, we also offer a free discovery call to help get the process started. You can find more information on booking your session by visiting absolutetrustcouncil.com/scheduling. If you join us for the broadcast, you can submit questions during the show. But if not, don't worry. You can always get in touch with us by sending a quick message to info@absolutetrustcouncil.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.
This podcast is not meant to take the place of legal advice from an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. If you do have a legal question or issue, please consult with an attorney.